Good afternoon, Sierra Leone. Good afternoon, Kano District. Good afternoon to every Sierra Leonean that is in the diaspora and those of you back home in Sierra Leone. This is David Gongbo coming to you from Kano News Network. And this afternoon I have a very important conversation to bring to you. And I hope we can all have time to listen and then give our comments, reactions at the end. We know what is going on in West Africa. We know there are problems in three countries, Niger, Burkina Faso, and Mali. These three countries came together and then they broke away from ECOWAS and formed their own regional alliance, which is now called the Sahel, AES. And we also know that ECOWAS is trying very hard to make sure they reintegrate these three countries back into the region. But the method in which they want to really carry out this might not be the best method based on what we are hearing from conferences and meetings that have been held in Nigeria, where they are planning to go and attack or forcefully remove the president of Niger, and possibly by extension they would want to remove the president of Burkina Faso and that of Mali to reintroduce what hypothetically we call democracy. But what I want to discuss here this afternoon is the implications on that particular action if ECOWAS should force war on the Sahel region. How is it going to affect West Africa? How will it affect the continent? And particularly, so how will it affect Sierra Leone, being the chairman for the regional bloc within this particular period? Now, as an overview, the Sahel region, particularly Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger, has faced military coups, democratic breakdowns, violence, extremism, and growing Russia and Wagner Group influence. These countries recently withdrew from West Africa or ECOWAS to form an alliance which is called the Sahel states. ECOWAS under Sierra Leone's leadership faces the challenge of restoring unity and democratic order while preventing the further fragmentation of West Africa. So, potential impact of ECOWAS intervention. I have firstly, in the first category I have here is regional effect. How is it going to affect West Africa? One, security outcomes. A military or forceful intervention may escalate violent, provoke resistance, or push the AES closer to Russia or non-Western alliances. A diplomatic and reconciliatory approach may lead to reintegration and stability in West Africa. So if they force the Sahel region, they are forcing them away from the Western Alliance and towards Russia and the Wagner Group. So we all know that Russia is increasing their presence in West Africa, especially in the Sahel region, and which is not going down well with the Western countries. So if there is no diplomatic reconciliatory program, that is going to really create more escalation of the problem than they will be wanting to solve them. Number two, under that, I would say economic consequences. What will be the economic consequences on West Africa, the ECOWAS region? Sanctions, if prolonged, harm both sides. Landlocked Sahel countries rely on ECOWAS trade routes, and while coastal states lose regional markets. So it's not just the Sahel region that is going to lose. Those who also rely on the Sahel region, who trade the bilateral trade with them, will also lose because they are not going to get the commodities that they used to get from those regions, and by so doing, prices will hike up. Okay, so ECOWAS unity breakdown threatens regional integration projects like the ECOWAS single currency and free movement in the region. If the region is fragmented, there's going to be a big problem in terms of creating the ECOWAS one currency that they are trying to talk about, and also free movement from one country to another. Is going to be a really big problem to achieve. Political ramifications on this particular action, if ECOWAS should go ahead, what will be the ramification on the ECOWAS countries? Risk of setting a precedent that military regimes can defy ECOWAS, and then alternatively, successful resolutions can restore ECOWAS credibility and deterrence. Continental implications. We've looked at the ECOWAS regional implication. What will be the implication on the African continent itself? AU and regional unity, a fragmented ECOWAS undermines African Union solidarity and collect security systems. Also, Pan-African development, instability in the Sahel stalls continental infrastructure projects like CFTA, transport corridors, and energy pipelines. Also, foreign influence. Withdrawal of Sahel states opens doors to increased Russian, Chinese, or Islamist influence, reducing Africans' internal sovereignty. Moving forward, under my next category, how is it going to impact or affect Sierra Leone? So Sierra Leone's stake as ECOWAS chair. As chair, Sierra Leone has both a symbolic and strategic role. Impacts will include the following. Diplomatic pressure. Sierra Leone must balance internal democratic standards while leading mediation among fractured member states. Legacy and leadership. A peaceful reunification under Sierra Leone's chairmanship would boost the country's international profile. Security spillovers. Instability in West Africa could eventually affect Sierra Leone via arms trafficking, extremism, and refugee flows. So if Sierra Leone, under its chairmanship, should encourage war against the Sahel, we are also going to be affected indirectly. So, best way to resolve the crisis and reunite with the Sahel countries. One will be rebuild diplomatic channels. How do we do that? Initiate high-level talks with Sahel leaders, possibly via neutral mediators. For example, Senegal, Ghana, Chad, or the AU. Also acknowledge their concerns. They also do have concerns. So acknowledging their concerns, for example, things like anti-terrorism that they have been fighting for quite a long time, sovereignty, unfair sanctions, these are things that they are very concerned about, and then while encouraging a roadmap to reunion with the ECOWAS again. And then develop a flexible engagement strategy with these countries, and under that we'll have consider a two-track membership, allow AES states to participate in economic and security matters even if they delay the democratic timelines. So we're seeing here that democracy does not always mean everybody is living a good life. We've seen what is happening right now in Burkina Faso and in the Sahel region in general, where they have gone out of democratic rule and then they are now under military rule. But we've seen what Ibrahim Traore is doing in Burkina Faso, which is really good as an example for all other African countries. Establish confidence building measures like joint border security operations or humanitarian partnerships. Number 3, I have here offer incentives for reintegration. It is always good to offer incentives because when people are aggrieved, you just don't fall on them. At least there's a reason why they broke away, and then we should find also another very good way to bring them in. One of those would be good incentives. Propose sanctions relief, infrastructure aid, or counter-terrorism support in exchange for commitments to return to civilian rule. Also include local service, civil society, traditional leaders, and youth movements in each dialogue to prevent elite-only negotiations. Coordinate with the African Union and global partners. Leverage AU frameworks to avoid duplication and contradictions. Ensure France, the EU, Russia, and the US do not inflame tensions but support African-led solutions. In conclusion, and I would say in Sierra Leone, as ECOWAS chair, has a large or rare opportunity to steer West Africa towards peace and reintegration. A diplomatic, flexible, and inclusive approach rather than punitive or forceful means offers the best chance to bring Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger back into the region and to preserve the unity and strength of ECOWAS and Africa at large. There are several implications if Africa or West Africa should force the Sahel leaders out of their position or power. It's going to escalate. The people that the ECOWAS will be going to liberate, according to what their own concept is, they will be dying, they will be starving, and then they will be inflicting more problems than solutions. See what happened in Libya. See what happened in Iraq, although that is not an African country. Removing leaders by force when the people themselves are in favor, or majority of the people want those leaders, may create more harm than good. So in Sierra Leone, we need to really encourage and talk to our president, especially his immediate advisors, that going to war with the Sahel region will not be productive for Sierra Leone, will not be productive for West Africa, and will not also be productive for the African Union. We need to reconcile peacefully, and because these guys that have left the ECOWAS, they have their reasons. They have been ruled and misused by the European colonial masters, and we have all seen. Today we see how the whole world is praising and in support of the Sahel region. So going to war with the Sahel region will actually create more problem than it will be attempting to solve. So my message here today is for us to actually employ the diplomatic means and avoid any form of violence fighting against the Sahel region. Again, this is David Bongbo coming to you from Kono News Network. I would encourage you to subscribe, also comment and share. Click the bell so that whenever I am on, you'll be notified, and then you will have the opportunity to listen to me. I want to thank everyone listening to me right now, and for all those that have subscribed, I also want to thank you very much, and good night and good evening and good day to everyone. Bye.